a heartbreaking loss in the world of country music. Singer Naomi Judd of the Grammy-winning mother-daughter duo The Judds has died.
Naomi Judd's death sent shockwaves through the world, but it wasn't just the loss that left people reeling. It was the chilling revelations that came after. Behind the spotlight and her successful career, Naomi was a woman wrestling with hidden battles, and the autopsy exposed truths that no one could have predicted. Scars, silence, and a haunting note, said to be directed at her daughter, painted a picture of a woman caught in a silent struggle. What truly happened in Naomi's final hours? What did she take with her when she left this world? These were the mysteries that no one saw coming, and they were only a glimpse into the darker side of the Judd legacy. Naomi Judd was an icon, an undeniable force in the world of country music. Her face graced the covers of magazines, and her name was synonymous with success. But behind that smile was a woman who fought invisible battles, a lifetime of pain hidden beneath the veil. Fans saw only the bright star, never were told that fame had taken her life. When she passed away, her life was not the true extent of her struggle was Together, they formed the Judds, a mother-daughter duo that would go on to dominate the country music scene. Their voices blended in a way that felt both raw and timeless, capturing the hearts of millions. They were unstoppable, and in the 1980s and 1990s, they were everywhere. Hit after hit poured from their collaboration. Songs like Mama, He's Crazy, and Grandpa, Tell Me About the Good Old Days, became more than chart toppers. They became anthems that fans lived by. But behind the scenes, their bond was not always the perfect picture they projected. Though they were seen as the epitome of family strength, Naomi and Winana's relationship was complicated. The pressures of fame, the demands of touring, and their personal demons created a tense atmosphere between them. What the public didn't know was that their picture-perfect image was held together by a fragile thread. Both women have since spoken about their explosive lives, and the emotional toll and later bipolar disorder. But acknowledging the pain didn't make it disappear. Naomi was one of the few country artists to speak openly about her struggles. But even with that openness, the emotional weight she carried was crushing. As the years passed, the toll became more evident. Behind her public persona, Naomi was in a constant state of psychological distress, and that burden grew heavier with each passing year. After a successful career, Naomi retired from performing in 1991 after being diagnosed with hepatitis C, a chronic liver disease. Doctors gave her little hope, but Naomi defied the odds, going into remission and becoming a vocal advocate for mental health. She wrote books, gave interviews, and attended public events, all while pushing others to take mental illness serious. But despite her advocacy, the battle with illness continued. Naomi had lost her fight before she knew it was over, and in 2022, she made a surprising return to the public with a farewell tour of her recital. This was found dead in her home just one day before the induction ceremony. And when the autopsy report was made public, it confirmed what many feared. The country music legend had taken her own life. But that wasn't all. The report offered a glimpse into her final moments, revealing physical details and emotional turmoil that painted a picture of a woman far from at peace. The day of Naomi's passing was one that stunned the world. Found by her family at 10:57 a.m. on April 30th, 2022, Naomi was rushed to the hospital, where she was pronounced dead just hours later. Just the day before, she was poised to receive one of the highest honors of her career, induction into the Hall of Fame. The physical details of the autopsy were hard to digest. The report described the scars from past surgeries and the substances found in her system. Each piece of information deepened the mystery of Naomi's final moments. And then, most shockingly, the autopsy revealed that allegedly possessed too much, seemingly placed on herself for her final moments, all pointed to a deep, unresolved turmoil that had been eating away at her for years. As the world tries to piece together the truth of Naomi Judd's death, one thing is clear: her legacy will forever be tainted by the pain that led her to that fateful moment. As she stepped onto the stage, Naomi Judd's image was one of grace and poise, her body a testament to the years spent in the spotlight. But beyond the public facade, the complexity of her health struggles was more profound than anyone knew. Her well-maintained body, complete with a tummy-tuck scar stretching from hip to hip, and additional scars on her knees, hinted at past cosmetic enhancements. Her nails, polished with French tip acrylics, and toenails painted a soft pink shade, told a story of someone dedicated to their appearance. Her late 70s. Yet, what lay beneath the surface was a much darker reality, one that toxicology reports concerning. The substances found in Naomi's system painted a picture of someone battling more than cosmetic concerns. Alzheimer's disease suggested the possibility that Naomi was dealing with cognitive decline, while MCPP, a psychoactive substance known to alter serotonin levels, raised more questions about her mental state. Although MCPP is not illegal, its effects mimic stimulants and hallucinogens, suggesting that Naomi's health was complicated by a potentially dangerous combination of medications. The complexity of Naomi's condition was evident in the way her family and friends described her in the weeks leading up to her death. Those closest to her noted her increasing emotional volatility and exhaustion, signs that suggested the pressure of returning to the stage was becoming too much. Despite her fragile health and delicate emotional state, Naomi was preparing for a final tour, one that would honor her immense contributions to the music world. But what should have been a moment of celebration seemed to spiral into something far more But beneath the layers of toxicology reports and medical jargon, the simplest truth remained. These battles made the very act of singing difficult. And yet, she pushed on, perhaps because the stage was her refuge, the place where she truly felt alive. But in the end, it was that same spotlight that seemed to consume her. Winona, in the wake of her mother's passing, has been forced to navigate a complex emotional landscape. "I miss her, but we just don't talk," she once said, offering a raw glimpse into the fractured nature of their relationship. For fans, Naomi had always been the warm, open personality they saw on stage. But behind closed doors, her relationship with Winona had been fraught with distance. The emotional distance between the two had grown over the years, despite the constant public image of a mother-daughter duo who had toured together for decades. Winona has since shared that the loss of her mother has been profound, but she calls surviving the gift. Despite this, she has done everything in her power to honor her mother's legacy, continuing to perform the songs they had once shared, speaking openly about mental health, and even committing to finishing the farewell tour Naomi had dreamed of. But behind the scenes, the emotional isolation she feels is profound. As the world mourned Naomi's passing, Winona found herself mourning not just a music legend, but a mother she had never truly reconciled. And just as Winona was beginning to process her grief, tragedy struck again, this time at home. Her husband, musician Cactus Moser, suffered a sudden medical event that left him unable to leave the left side of his body. For Winona, this meant shifting from being a daughter to full-time caregiver almost overnight. The dramatic change in Cactus's condition was a shock to fans who had watched him perform alongside them for years, full of energy and life. What was supposed to be a time of enjoying their success and living out their dreams had turned into a battle for survival. The couple, who had once toured together, now faced a new kind of challenge, one that no amount of fame or fortune could have prepared them for. She never dreamed her marriage would turn into a full-time care partnership, but instead of falling apart, Naomi Judd adapted. She didn't romanticize her resilience or drink any moments like bravery. Instead, she laid it out with blunt honesty. This isn't strength, it's survival. Her childhood wisdom resurfaced. You hold the garden, or you don't eat. What once referred to scraping together is now about tending emotional wounds and navigating an unexpected life shift. Both have faced scrutiny, heartbreak, and years of uncertainty, but neither allowed pain to define their path. between her and her sister Ashley. Many assumed Naomi Judd's death would bring the sisters closer, but the opposite happened. Wynonna admitted they barely speak, despite living on the same Tennessee property. Their lives are parallel but disconnected. Wynonna describes it without bitterness, just clarity. The only thing we share is a missing father and a broken mother. It's a line that cuts deep, revealing a history of emotional disconnection that started long before Naomi's passing. And while the world may look at Wynonna as a country music legend, few see the sharp edges of the journey behind that fame. Her financial world is just as complex. Over the years, she's amassed a notable portfolio of luxury. She's owned a series of high-end Cadillacs and custom Rolex fitted with designer interiors. Her watch collection includes Rolex and Audemars Piguet models, while her Nashville estate sits on the acres of land. Though she doesn't live on her own, she manages a silver private jet for tours and United States. Her business team spans from high-end merchandise to production. Unexpected love, and the kind of endurance you only understand by living it. And that's the real story. Raw, powerful, and unforgettable. If this pulled at your heartstrings, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more. After all, legends don't fade, they echo.